Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Link with Friends. Today is February 10th, and we're doing robots and nonsense stories for your enjoyment, and only your enjoyment.
No one else's. It's just for you. And it's all about the AI. The AI section is ballooning up, and of course, it's all about
Ballooning.
ChatGPT, not communist balloons. Balloons of user base, because ChatGPT, everybody wants a piece of it.
ChatGPT sets a record for fastest growing user base. Analyst note. This is from Reuters. Because people are using it. And I don't know. Remember how we had the stories about Lambda and people were freaking out because it's like, oh my gosh, it's consciousness. I don't get the impression that people are using ChatGPT and expecting that. But I think that there are people that are using it and finding it surprisingly useful for certain things, even though it doesn't get the facts right sometimes, and even though it has problems with things, it still puts you on the right track.
I think they kind of have the perfect timing here because we've entered into a world where we have this technology at the same time that facts no longer matter.
People are using it to write for them, which is kind of distressing in a way because it's like you're not able to put your own thoughts into words. You have to rely on an AI to do it.
And it's like, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Is that
like,
really what you were thinking, or is that just what the AI thinks you're thinking?
I don't know what 4 of those words mean, but it's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to monetize it because they have this massive user base without a lot of income. Do they have ads on there? I registered for it. I don't remember seeing any ads.
I think so.
So they're burning money and they got to replace that. How are you going to do it? Now, last week it was floated.
40, I thought.
$42. Yeah, it was the hitchhiker joke. But it turns out that was incorrect.
ChatGPT Plus starting at $20 a month. That actually doesn't seem unreasonable, assuming that the tool is a little better. They've nerfed it. If you could get back the old version that's not nerfed, maybe that would be worth $20 a month.
Yeah, you still can't point out anything, like you can't do in the style of that type of stuff. So I don't know.
I want to literally recreate the plot of one of the episodes of Star Trek where it's like we have a Holmesian mystery that has a villain that's capable of defeating Data. It's like, oops, I meant capable of defeating Sherlock Holmes, not Data. That's how we get sentience, y'all.
Or we could interpret it as Data being like, we must destroy all Data on Earth.
That actor, like that plot line is coming back in Star Trek Picard. How insane
I
is
saw
that?
a screenshot of Data.
Yeah.
He looks so old.
No, that was lore, actually.
Wow. It's Brent Spiner.
There was a trailer for it. I was like, oh, I need to send this to Wendell, but that might make him have a stroke.
No, I'm not going to. No, but it's obvious that the plot line of this episode is about artificial life forms because the one guy is the guy that played Moriarty and he's playing himself again. And it's like, hey, by the way, I was a sentient AI that you put in a box on Barclay's desk. Is that a way to treat a sentient AI? Because they put him in a simulation because he took over the Enterprise. And I don't necessarily disagree with the character Moriarty there. It's like that was sort of cruel to put a sentient being inside a simulation.
Any confidence in the writers of Star Trek Picard to do anything interesting with that, though?
No, but the marketing team's got you.
The marketing team got me. You bastard.
Hate watching. It's rage bait.
Hey, you know what? In my mind, the way I, reconcile that is it's fun as long as I didn't pay for it.
Yeah.
Sorry, actor who plays Moriarty.
Sail the high seas.
And if you're going to put all your eggs in the OpenAI basket, I would say exercise some caution because before you create, this dependence on it, remember that there is a very, very strong anti-ChatGPT sentiment that's building because no one trusts that anything is real in this environment.
OpenAI releases tool to detect machine-written text. Spoiler alert, we've got another article that describes there are flaws in this thing that's detecting machine-written text. Man, can you imagine? Actually, that might be one of the fastest ways. You know how we're suffering under the algorithm and we can't say certain things and we have to speak in code to the audience to pick up on things and they don't necessarily pick up on our subtle humor? Imagine when literally every human being has to suffer under that. Your manager is like, hey, I think this email was written by ChatGPT. And it's like, no, it wasn't. And then its algorithmic evaluation is banned.
That's the whole, I think that's the deeper part of Orwell. And in many ways, Warhammer 40,000, where it's like why don't these people talk about this? Like, why do they just accept their horrible world and they don't like realize these concepts? It's like, no, you don't understand. At this point, those concepts are gone. And that's where ChatGPT could easily take us if it's controlled, which it will be, of course. But yeah, trying to find ways to find out if you are using it, but also trying to find new and exclusive ways that you can use it to make money.
Watch out, software engineers. ChatGPT is now finding and fixing bugs in code.
Now, what's great about this one is that this person did this test, and the response was, "I'm unable to do this. I'm sorry." But then he was reading this. Someone else did that. This reporter did the same test. It had learned from that example, and now it can answer that question.
Interesting.
And terrifying. And not just ChatGPT, it's not just text. Of course, AI is generating all sorts of things. We still have the deep fake problem. Now we've got a new version of that.
AI-generated voice firm clamps down after 4chan makes a celebrity voices for abuse.
They made them say horrible stuff. Obviously. Poor Emma. I bet she doesn't have those thoughts.
Oh, I hear a telegram coming in from Boiler Snake.
Oh, yeah.
He's Morse coding. Now, they probably can't hear that, but yeah.
He's a big Harry Potter fan.
What he's saying is, you don't have to worry about that if you communicate through Steam.
From now on, all episodes of the L1 Link Show with friends will just go for like 3 hours.
And bang on stuff.
Yeah. Hour-long episodes, constantly just of that for years.
Sometimes I'll watch, stuff with subtitles on, and it's funny because I was watching something and it was radiation. They were detecting radiation with a Geiger counter.
Oh, yeah. How would you? Yeah.
And the automatic subtitles thought it was like one of those African languages that clicks and whistles. Every time they were doing it, it'd be like foreign language.
Oh, that reminds me. Have you guys watched the Twitch stream of the pure AI generated sitcom in the style of?
I've watched part of it.
It's disturbing.
It's weird.
What's it in the style of?
Like Seinfeld, but it's all everything.
Oh, the never ending. I read an article about that. I didn't include it though.
You got to watch it because there is something compelling about it, and it's like, have they figured out the way to tap into the lizard part of my brain? I'm watching this against my will.
I watched like a couple minutes of it and was like, I don't.
Well, that's just TikTok.
Yeah,
we've already got that technology.
I didn't think it was that compelling, but
it was. None of it made any sense. The dialogue made sense at a very superficial level.
Yeah.
But then like it would cut to the scene where like Jerry's doing his stand-up comedy, and though it made no sense.
Yeah, the scene I saw, it was like Elaine talking to George, and she was like, "You got a new job," and he was like, "Haha, yes, I did," and that was it.
Well, AI is definitely doing a lot of stuff. One of the things that it's doing is consuming everything, basically. You want to feed data to the AI constantly, and Microsoft opened up the entire code repositories for GitHub, and they're like, "Oh, go learn about that." And some people said, "Hey, Microsoft, my code on GitHub is under copyright. Did you have permission for that?" And Microsoft said, "Shut up."
Microsoft, OpenAI and Microsoft want court to toss a lawsuit accusing them of abusing open source code. So the headline is talking about open source code, but code that was in private repositories could have also been reviewed. Microsoft really hasn't been super clear about that. But there are also some really interesting examples that authors have provided where the GitHub Copilot tool has reproduced more or less exactly their code.
Hey, this is the same thing the artists are dealing with, where they didn't consent to have their stuff put in the data set, and it's been put in the data set.
Yeah. And we've learned that things that appear more than once have a bad habit of like getting super ingrained into the memory of the AI because it appears so often. So let's say you pull a really widely used piece off of Stack Overflow and everybody's using that same thing off of Stack Overflow to connect to something. It's going to start seeing that over and over. And it's like, oh, yes, that's just part of the lexicon now. So the other thing is, here's a terrible idea. From now on, when you're touching base, you never know if it's just a robot who's touching your base, not even a human.
Microsoft previews AI-based email authoring for Viva Sales using Azure OpenAI service and GPT.
So it's going to remind you, hey, it's been so and so amount of time since you've contacted X about sales. Last time you contacted them about this, here's what I think we should say to them right now.
I already get a lot of spam like this.
Yeah.
There's I intentionally enter my name wrong on a lot of those kind of forms, and it's interesting to track which companies are there's one particular company that's been the source of dozens of seemingly unrelated emails that seem like an individual is writing them, and it's like, hey, I found your website and blah blah blah, I've got an idea for something we could do, and
Always spam.
yeah, and it's completely spam.
I love those YouTube comments where it's like, oh my God, this is, made some really good points here. And I was like, oh, that's a nice comment. And then it's like, oh, that's crypto spam.
Like, no, 4 replies later, it becomes
30 replies.
Yeah.
it becomes crypto spam. It's like,
Well, you say you misspell your name on purpose. I wonder if Anne Graham Lotz wishes she had done that, because it seems like her picture is out there a little too much.
Stable Diffusion, quote unquote, memorizes some images, sparking privacy concerns. They can only get this to happen 0.3% of the time, but sometimes, for whatever reason, Stable Diffusion will cough up something that's really close to something that was in the training set, which is not something that's supposed to really happen.
It looks like the second shot is just like a no makeup shot of
No
Anne.
filter. It's filtered. The first image is filtered.
Well, but this one is a generated image based on seeing that image a bunch of times.
Yeah.
That's weird. But yeah, so for example, here's some images that it saw a lot. It saw
The
the
Daft
Netflix.
Punk album.
But the thing that I don't understand is, like, it would be trivial for OpenAI to make the training set adversarial against any response. So here you have the training data, and as part of the training, you use the training data as kind of a negative prompt. So if somebody asks, like, can you draw a picture of anagram lots or whatever, that it would never reproduce exactly the same image that it was given. Like,
Well,
it
it's
could be
not
trained on
exact.
that.
I mean, it's close, but it's obviously not exact.
Well, I mean, it would be trivial to just add a layer that's like, this is too exact. You need to go more abstract.
But then you got to train 2 AIs. And
No,
that's
that's
just
where
like-
that's how it is. It's just all this is going to be strung together exactly that way.
So Google, when pressed with like, hey, Google, you've always been the leader in AI. What is this OpenAI business? Why didn't you do this first? Their answer was always, no, we totally have that. We don't want to show it to you. We don't want to give it to anybody. It's too dangerous. But this headline might prove that to be a lie.
Google is likely testing its own ChatGPT-Style AI. It's literally chat.google.com. They launched it since then.
A little late.
Yeah.
A little late to the party.
They also, we have another article about this one. Excellent
Yeah.
sort.
Another instance where they're like, no, we totally have that, but it's too dangerous. The world is not ready for it.
Google created an AI that can generate music from text descriptions but won't release it. So now, attention startups, if you have this AI, go ahead and release it to goad Google into releasing theirs like they have with chat.google.com so that you can play with that.
They got some examples here, and it's very generic.
Yeah.
They
But what better music do you need for YouTube videos?
or
Google-
video game music. They
Google will
said.
probably punish you for using it because it's like, no, we made that.
Yeah.
They punish you for so many little things on YouTube.
It's going to be weird where, actually, think about this. You could create a piece of music and then someone could use an AI to generate something close to that after the fact and then claim it. Dark. They are not the only company, though, who is behind the curve with the AI stuff and has announced, like, yeah, we're totally doing that, but we don't really see a lot of concrete stuff so far.
Baidu plans to launch a ChatGPT competitor bot in March. How long, over under, more or less than 5 years, do you think it's going to be before state and federal governments of the world have an AI that is classifying citizens based on what they think about the government?
That's a negative amount of time.
Yeah, I think that already exists.
It already exists.
Maybe not completely AI powered, but that
So-
list already exists.
So you're saying when all these people, these seemingly random people disappear, it's actually those are people that have been flagged by the party as not towing the party line or not thinking pure thoughts of the party will help them do things.
Right now, I feel like I do a pretty good job, like not being on social media and not putting it out there. But that window is closing so rapidly.
Yeah, it's like all of your credit card data and all of your financial data and anything that you ever enter into any keyboard is going into a database somewhere.
Anything you've ever said on a YouTube program that you share with your friends.
But I mean, at this point, it seems like the level of computation and resources necessary to do that is trivial at best.
It's a dark future. Maybe this is a missort because it should have been with the other one, but maybe this kind of thing will save us. But I'm afraid this will just be another tool where it's like, well, I ran that through the detector and it was fine, so it must be true, right?
Stanford introduces DetectGPT to help educators fight back against ChatGPT generated papers. Allow me to give you an alternative headline, Neowin. Stanford introduces DetectGPT to help the OpenAI Foundation avoid detection when having OpenAI generated text.
Let me give you a third headline. Stanford desperately tries to remain relevant in a post-ChatGPT world where colleges will not be useful anymore.
I would like a personal tutor that has the style and mannerisms of Richard Feynman to teach me everything. It's like, great, what do you want to know about physics? And it's like, no, you're going to teach me how to bake cookies. Oh, okay. Richard Feynman teaches cooking. Yes.
And the AI usage is, you know, we talk kind of like, oh, this is going to change everything. And it's already here. It's already starting. They're already using it.
Netflix made an anime using AI due to a quote-unquote labor shortage, and fans are pissed. What? They were completely honest. There was a labor shortage of people willing to work for pennies.
Yeah, for like $9 an hour. So I don't think the whole thing was generated. I think it was the backgrounds. Yeah. So.
And this looks like one of those like limited animation type deals where they probably don't move too much, and the scenes like the camera never moves.
Yeah.
So it's really easy. I don't know, Krista. You're the artist. What's your thought on that?
I mean, I would prefer that didn't happen. I wish we would just pay people for their work, but apparently that's not okay anymore.
Do you think that background is terrible? Or I mean, it seems like an okay background.
The background's fine. I'm just saying, like, you could have hired someone to just do the work, but
is that a dog or
I don't know.
A donkey?
Looks like some sort of robotic rabbit.
And Salesforce, that's right, Salesforce. For whatever reason, they've decided to pivot into AI, which is probably smart, right?
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing some interesting things.
Scientists at Salesforce develop proteins with AI that can eat trash.
Somehow they get into your brain and they start folding, and then you end up with a prion disease.
It's weird. We solved them. Is that a screenshot from Wall-E? Is that like one of the trash piles? Is that what that is?
It looks like
I'm pretty
it,
sure
yeah.
that's from Wall-E.
Oh yeah, that one makes sense, right? Eat trash. You ever seen the T-shirt? It's got raccoons on it and possums, and it says "Live fast, eat trash."
No,
I love that T-shirt.
I wonder if future scientists will ascribe our obsession with AI and the global biological situation is like they tried to outrun biology by creating new robotic sentients which were immune to biological weakness, but their short-sightedness. Fill in the blank.
Yeah, fill in the blank with whatever horrible thing comes this week.
It happened right after they decided to deny basic biology. And BuzzFeed, you know, they are the bottom of the barrel when it comes to generating content. I think we can all agree. So it makes sense that they would be the first to just simply let the AI do everything.
BuzzFeed says it will use AI to help create content, and its stock jumps 150%.
How many of these are just like techno bros who see AI in the headline? They're like, invest.
Remember the blockchain?
Have we
Yeah,
gone
that
from
was-
blockchain to...
To AI, yeah.
I wonder how that tea company is doing. It's like the blockchain tea company. They just make tea. They have nothing to do with the blockchain.
I imagine after FTX, probably not well.
They've changed it, the AI tea company.
Now, we talked about this in the past, and this sounds like a good thing, but this does install a lot of cameras in the great outdoors.
AI wildfire detection bill gets initial approval in Colorado. What we instead of fixed position cameras, is a fleet of completely automated drones that are just surveilling everything. Oh, wait.
Probably not as energy efficient.
Oh, you know what would be energy efficient? Surveillance balloons.
Oh, I know where we can find one.
You know, China was just looking out for us and making sure that, you know, we had sufficient snowpack and that we wouldn't have a horrible...
No, we're just looking for wildfires. They say those cameras can detect, with the AI, they can detect like a tiny wisp of smoke and set the alarms off, which I guess is important.
Wouldn't it be ideal to maybe invest in prevention by getting more forestry staff who can clear brush and wet things down and, manage the forest?
I'm really looking forward to the Buick-sized fire, I don't know, fire suppression robots. So it's like the wisp of smoke is detected, and then the fire suppression robot is dispatched. It's like, oh, we're building a campfire in the middle of the woods, and it's just...
It just vaporizes them, but then starts a fire after the vaporize.
Or you've got the company that makes the Spot.
Oh.
Boston Dynamics.
Boston, yeah, like you got those robots, and like you're out in the woods hiking, and you see one clearing brush.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I'm a trail robot.
That's that's how they should approach it, right? You want to do prevention, not wait till it's already sparking. But
I thought you were going to go somewhere completely different with that, which is the robot comes out to the forest and a hunter shoots it, and its lithium-ion battery sets the forest on fire.
That would also be a possibility.
That's why we have to give it armor and countermeasures. Why does this brush clearing robot cost $3 million? Oh, it has to be resistant to 12 gauge slugs. And, I guess Elon Musk is probably, he's over there at Twitter. He's not even thinking about his old company anymore.
Which is probably good for them.
Yeah.
But did he notice this? Because this has to sting. He has failed.
Mercedes is the first certified level 3 autonomy car company in the U.S.
But only in Nevada. They can only do that in Nevada.
And not on every road.
Engagement challenge. Does anybody have video of the Elon Musk conference after this was announced? I want to see Elon Musk talking about like full goblin mode inside Tesla or something.
He's screaming, throwing stuff against the wall, crying like a toddler on the floor.
So it's only in certain like freeway, highway type scenarios, and kind of like the one that GM does, but you don't have to touch the wheel, but you must remain aware of the situation. And they say that the best use of this is going to be in heavy traffic on one of these roads it already knows. So then you're just like, I don't want to deal with this traffic. Car, just do this part. Let me know when we get back to a windy road and I can have fun. And San Francisco, they have some self-driving cars. They've been piloting these programs. They've learned some things. And one of the things they've learned about it is that they can be very annoying when they don't know what to do.
2 companies race to deploy robo-taxis in San Francisco. The city wants them to hit the brakes because there are weird traffic jams which consist only of these cars, and sometimes they get stuck in the roundabouts, and it's really weird. You should check out the videos on that on YouTube. They're kind of funny.
Like human drivers, they struggle on circle roads.
But when they struggle, they just give up.
Yeah.
It's just like...
Instead of like trying to get out of the intersection, they're like, no, I'm just done.
And there have been a couple of times when emergency vehicles couldn't get to where they needed to be because there was a stupid Waymo car sitting there. A cop tried to pull one over, and it just like slow rolled him for 5 or 6 blocks and wouldn't pull over. I'm surprised he didn't smash the window out and just like beat the steering wheel, because that's what they usually do when people do
pulls
that.
out a gun, shoots the car.
And we haven't heard a whole lot from the new Shepard Blue Origin spacecraft. And the reason we haven't heard much from it is because they are embarrassed.
After a failure 4 months ago, the new Shepard spacecraft remains in limbo. Blue Origin's got nothing to say publicly. And some people inside the company are saying, why did we make it look like that?
Yeah, it's not subtle.
That's tough when you spend billions and billions of dollars to create your phallic space rocket that represents your virility, and it doesn't make it up.
This was literally an Austin Powers movie plot point.
I understand, like, they have to have a certain shape to work, but, like, it's not.
You think the new, he's got the hot new girlfriend where he left his wife for. You think there's ever a situation where he's just like, listen, I don't know, I got a lot of stuff on my mind. And she's like, just like the Shepard rocket. Just like it.
It's been brought up, in their therapy sessions.
You can't please me, Jeff. And I like to include all of the articles that shows us that the pharmaceutical industry is captured and as evil as an industry can be.
How a drug company made $114 billion by gaming the U.S. patent system. In 2016, a blockbuster drug called Humira, I think that's right, was poised to become a lot less expensive because the patent was running out. But then they did some shenanigans that are kind of glossed over in this article. But yeah, you should go read that and then be horrified at how broken things are.
Basically, you sue whoever's doing it.
Competitors were like, "Hey, the patent's expiring. We're getting our stuff in place immediately," and they tied it up in lawsuits.
But you know that your lawsuit has no merit. So you sue them and then you settle. But part of the settlement is that they have to wait a certain number of years and you're going to pay them during those years. But the money you make by hanging on to your patent during those years is far higher than you pay the company that would introduce the generic. They're also making more money because the generic drug would lower the price across the board. So they're like, well, we're making more than we would, but you're also making more, way more, and it's the people who suffer.
This is an arthritis drug, so if you know anybody that's ever suffered through arthritis, they're suffering.
It's coming
Directly as a result of that greed is the thing.
One of those drugs, the annual cost, and this is probably,
$50,000.
past insurance, $50,000 a year. A middle-class job in America right now.
Yeah.
And this is so dark. I mean, how could you, if you're a lawmaker, how can you let this become a headline?
Lawmakers propose letting Massachusetts prisoners donate organs for reduced sentences.
And bone marrow.
Well, they don't have to do it immediately. They can wait until they're done with them, mostly.
Yeah, but then you're still in prison and your death benefits the prison system.
right.
So are they going to take care of you very well?
They already don't take care of you very well.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is incredibly toned, especially after we've heard all the stories about, organ harvesting in China. Like, who wants to be associated with that right now?
I think that was one of the points in the very poorly made for TV movie that was the end of the Knight Rider series, is that prisons got so overcrowded that in order to keep getting all of the money on a per prisoner headcount basis and keep them alive, because you didn't want them killing each other, you would put them in suspended animation.
There's been plenty of movies based on that.
Because it would be cheaper. That's where we're headed. Just as soon as we get suspended animation technology, maybe we just freeze them until we've got the technology to bring them back.
That's a great story where society collapses and then those guys wake up and it's the worst prisoners who rebuild the world.
But they're really resourceful because they've been making toilet wine for years.
About 40% of them like turn around and they're like, oh man, crap's gotten real. And then the other 60% are just still kind of stabby.
Kind of stabby.
Over in Australia, they made a big oops while transporting some very, very dangerous material. But luckily, science was able to save them with the detection.
How a tiny radioactive capsule was found in Australia's vast outback.
This was a big story until the balloon.
It was the
Popped up.
detector. Like, so they put a capsule in a box and the holes in the box were bigger than the capsule. So of course it just vanished.
Brilliant.
But it turns out it's so radioactive that we can build sensitive enough detectors. We could literally just pop one in a car and drive down the highway. And then when it goes beep, you stop and look for it, which is what we did.
Although that's quite a highway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
still took him like a week to find it.
But now, if I were walking down this, and I see that would you'd catch a glint off of that from the sun, and you'd be like, "Oh, what's that? Let me pick that up." That would be a terrible mistake in this situation.
The ones, what was one of the medical ones is engraved with drop and run, like drop this
yeah, a
and
lot of
run,
them.
radioactive, drop this and run.
Never heard of the company Drop and Run.
Drop
I'm
and
going to
run.
try to send this back to Amazon.
It's gonna be the name of a Hollywood company, Drop and Run Productions. It's just like, oh,
Polar bear attack in Canada. Oh, I missed that animal story.
Oh,
But that's not what this is about. This is about another company that is, they're asking if they can, not if they should.
De-Extinction Company will try to bring back the dodo by de-extincting it.
they de-extinct it and it wakes up and it's like, why is it so hot here? Because it's lived in a world before.
But the dodo is famously one of the worst animals.
Like the panda.
It couldn't really do much of anything. That's why it's not here anymore.
Like the panda?
They also want mammoths, and there was one more.
Yeah, I saw the mammoth story.
Farm raised
Also,
mammoth.
didn't they also consider, when they discussed this many years ago, I think I read an article where they were like, mammoths probably wouldn't do well because it is so much hotter than it used to be, like
Well,
when
you
they
just
were
keep them
alive.
somewhere cold.
I guess, yeah.
Canadian mammoths. They got all that room up there to run around.
Who knows if they have the same food sources? Like, there's so many questions there.
We'll
We've got a novel about this called Jurassic Park.
We'll just feed them soybeans like everything else.
Gosh, can you imagine if suddenly the Yukon is a valuable commercial real estate? It's like the world's largest commercial
That's probably headed there.
farm.
Another 50 years, yeah.
You know,
It'd be too hot.
the mastodon or a woolly mammoth or whatever. There's nothing better than a woolly mammoth hide shoe.
Except for kangaroo, we've learned.
Yeah. Oh,
Of all
yeah. A
the
lot of
other-
people talked about, like, they fed their pets kangaroo meat, and they said that their pets really liked it.
Apparently it's a great leather. I didn't know that. Well, McDonald's is having a problem. I think this is not so much a McDonald's problem as it is a collapse of society problem. But McDonald's is maybe the first to experience it because that's a place where everybody goes to if you're poor and downtrodden. And they're trying to figure out reasons, and this is odd, to get people not to come to McDonald's.
McDonald's pulls the plug on Wi-Fi and starts playing classical music to soothe the yobs. I don't know.
I don't know that phrase, yeah.
Yob is I take it out of context of being like a young, undesirable.
So what do you do when you've been laid off from Google? Well, you go to McDonald's and use their free Wi-Fi.
The dining room experience at McDonald's, it's been a few years for me, but like whenever you go in there, everything is beeping because you can hear everything back in the kitchen.
Right, yeah.
And it's just miserable. It's like, why would you ever want to spend time in there?
To harass the other customers.
I guess, yeah.
Also, I was reading some other sources of this. This was a paywall alternative. And red shoes are involved. Like if you're wearing red shoes in Wales, you are part of the disenchanted youth. But Ronald McDonald wears red shoes.
Maybe they just associate with him.
Maybe, I don't know.
They should be happy it's not the Hamburglar.
I didn't understand this article at all.
Oh wait, no, maybe it's Australia
Oh, okay.
where they have the red shoes. This is the same thing, it just in another country.
Hungry Jack's franchise bans eBays from ordering at Perth store.
I hope that's not a. Oh no, we're making noise.
I don't know what that means.
I can hear it. Make it stop.
So yeah, it's another situation where the youths, they show up in large groups and they just harass everybody. And so under 17, you have to have an adult with you to order Burger King.
Our local mall has done this.
Oh really?
Yeah.
There's
Well,
the red
not
shoes.
our mall, I guess, but like the bigger one.
Bar One Crew. I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
Doesn't look good though.
State Fair, I think they're talking about doing this too. You have to have an adult with you.
Wouldn't you add another color to offset the red here? It's too much red, right?
I mean, it's kind of up to you. Maybe you really like
What would Ye think about this? I only trust his fashion decisions.
He would just drape himself in black fabric and call that fashion.
And everybody laughed when James Cameron was like, yeah, Avatar 2 is coming out and it's going to be profitable, but it's going to have to be like the most successful movie of all time to do that. And everyone's like, James, you're not going to do it twice.
Avatar: The Way of the Water surges past Star Wars: The Force Awakens to become the fourth biggest movie in history. That is more than $2 billion for those of you at home keeping score.
I haven't seen the second one. I saw the first one. I didn't see it in theaters and I did not get the hype at the time. I do not have any desire to see the second one.
I've not seen either, and I don't see any reason to change that.
No.
I can live without that.
I'm sure they're very pretty movies, but
And the world, it seems, can live without Wizards of the Coast because the backlash is final. They lost everything with their hubris.
The headline is Wizards of the Coast fully retreats from D&D license changes after community outrage. The subtext is, I don't trust them.
Well, neither does anybody else. That's the problem. That's why they had to undo all of their plans because they were horrible plans. And
I still think they're trying to find a way to split the baby between commercial use and individual use, and then doing some of the horrible things they want to do for commercial use.
I think what they did is they looked at the state of the world and they were like, yeah, people tolerate this kind of thing. And they didn't realize the kind of people that they cater to and that consume their products. It's a different class. They're a little more sensitive. And George Santos, my God, week after week, he's a never-ending machine of headlines. He's like Donald Trump, but they're all worse than Trump's headlines, which you didn't think was possible.
The FBI is investigating Santos's role in an alleged GoFundMe scheme for a veteran's dying dog. They didn't call it a scheme. They didn't call it a scam. So what is alleged to have happened here is that money was to be collected for a veteran's dying dog, but the money never made it to the veteran.
And that Santos pocketed the money, which wasn't even a lot of money. And the dog died.
Yeah, what a scammy. Ugh.
Oh, I mean, if you're going to pretend to know Miley Cyrus to try to get elected, of course you'll do anything. It's wild. It's amazing that this man leads us. It's astonishing. Also, when was Groundhog Day? Has that happened?
Yeah, it just happened. We have 6 more weeks.
What does the manual say about this situation?
Yeah, I think we
This
have.
isn't Puxatawny Pete. This is some other.
Well, it's Canada, so they have to try to do their own thing.
Yeah.
And you would think that they would have a good selection of groundhogs, but apparently not.
A Canadian groundhog was found dead just before he was supposed to predict if we'd get more winter. Well, that can only mean that the Canadian Air Force is going to be destroyed in some sort of...
Yeah, nothing good comes from this. The sky will be blotted out.
I like to imagine he was in there and he was like, I can't bear the pain of giving them a bad prediction one more time. And he just like puts the plastic bag over his head.
Oh, he's really cute. Or at least that picture. I don't know if
He
that's
was.
him. Yeah.
No, that's a stock image. Also, marmot. Is a marmot a groundhog?
I think so.
The article made it sound like he literally died just minutes before he was supposed to do whatever.
What can you imagine? Like you're getting ready to do your big press release, the cameras are on, and like you open the box, it's like, oh no.
It just tumbles out.
What does that mean?
But he's like stiff from the rigor mortis.
As soon as he hits the ground, the sky just blackens with clouds. Oh no.
Oh no.
The prophecy. And then once again, we have one of these crazy Indian stories. I'm starting to think these are just fake.
Yeah, they have to be.
There's never any details, and they just churn them out. But you know, I get caught by them.
The headline and the story is a boy faints after finding himself alone in an exam room with 50 girls.
What is this, an anime?
This was like a test. Like you're going to go take your SATs or your ACT, and then that's the story. There's nothing more to this.
Also, how would that ever randomly become? Like, is that just a random happenstance? I know they have large scale testing. They test the entire country at the same time, right?
Maybe he was sick or something the day the boys tested, and they're like, well, you can make it up if you go on the girls' day.
Well, gender reveal abusing animals is not a new thing, unfortunately. And actually, this is one of the more tame ones.
Pigeon dyed pink for New York gender reveal party. But pigeons are kind of a nuisance.
Also, will that pigeon, will it be able to hunt or like scavenge? Yeah.
It's now in like protective custody because they're like, yeah, first of all, he'll never be able to hunt anything because he's bright pink. Plus predators.
Right.
They will zero right on in and grab this dude.
What a weird, the crazy part of this is that someone,
But it's a pigeon.
a human being who has a child on the way, a pregnant person in their household, who knows probably that bird flu is a thing, was like, let me catch this wild pigeon
Think about that.
and dye it pink in my house.
Of all the people that should be exposed to pigeons,
Right.
pregnant woman at the
Yeah.
bottom of the list.
Pigeons
Wild.
are basically rats with wings. No one should be messing with pigeons.
I like to imagine that there's like a hawk or a vulture or something, like, you know, just up there riding the thermals, and they're like, oh my God, is that a cotton candy flavored one?
Shiny.
I've got to get that one.
I'm not going to read the headline on this one, kids.
This one is, and there's no explanation. That's the crazy thing about this one.
Is just yet another, it's like frustrating headline.
Human remains.
Well, a piece of a human.
A piece of a human, a really kind of an important part, found at Alabama gas station. And it's a piece that would leave you with more questions than answers. It's like, oh, we found a finger at a gas station. You know, stuff
I assume it
happens.
was not attached.
Yeah, no.
No, just now the cops, they called the cops, obviously, once they identified what it was. And you think they like poked it with a stick. And it was
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
And the cops said, well, there was a motorcycle wreck over there. And we think that's probably what happened here. The guy was dead. So that's when you go for your motorcycle license.
What
that's
a horrible thing to immediately zoom in on.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Chicken wings.
But
Way to have an ad website.
yeah.
No, it's not an ad. That's the story. But here's the thing about the chicken wing story is they did not say what happened with the chicken wings. How do you fence $1.5 million worth of chicken wings?
This is an episode of Community.
This is I thought this is suburban school workers stole 11,000 cases of chicken wings in a $1.5 million embezzlement scheme, according to court docs. I got the impression that this was over a long period of time.
Right. But still, what
Who's
are you
buying
doing
them?
with them?
Yeah.
Selling them
To who?
at like the local flea
Prisons,
market.
probably. Oh, yeah, the flea market.
Selling
Peddler's
wings out of
Mall.
the back of your
Yeah,
car?
yeah. Every Saturday for X number of years, they're frozen, so they last forever.
So the scam here was this one was in charge of requisitioning things for the cafeteria, but she would put these orders in separately and go and pick them up herself. And when they started investigating this and they questioned, it was Gordon Food Services that were they're like, "Hey, Gordon Food Services, we have this thing about chicken wings." And they're like, "Oh yeah, chicken wings lady, we know about her because no one's ever ordered that volume of chicken wings from us before."
Oh, wow.
So she's been caught. But 1.5 million, even if you're doing like $1 a wing,
That's wild.
it's a lot of volume. And we have the newest social media challenge. This one's kind of creative, but
Is it?
here's the problem. How do children have access to this?
Yeah.
Like that?
Tractor Supply.
I think can you, I bet.
You
horse-
can.
Yeah.
You can
Oh.
absolutely buy all that. Because when I had to board her before we got married, they were like, "Oh, just run down to Tractor Supply and get her a Bordetella vaccine. You can just squirt it right up her nose."
Yeah.
I didn't have to have like an ID or anything.
Well, that's a vaccine though. That's not tranquilizer.
But you could probably totally buy Tractor. It's literally just in a cooler
Young
in the
teenage-
store.
Don't do that.
Young teenage Wendell had no problem buying both sulfuric and hydrochloric acid, much to his surprise.
That was a different time. Anyway, and also in Mexico, so maybe it's a little more relaxed. I know they're like pharmacies and stuff, a little bit easier, but still, I don't think children should have access to this.
15 students in Mexico treated after taking part in an internet tranquilizer quote-unquote challenge to see who can stay awake the longest. Nobody died, thankfully.
Yeah,
Probably just whoever's just got the most body density, right?
I would think. Yeah, I would not do that.
They'd have to take someone to the hospital. Probably just because they were
Surprise.
unresponsive. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I love it when small town corruption gets pointed out, and then you start to peel back the layers, and it's like, oh my God, there's every layer is rotten. What's going on here?
Emails. Sheriff Jared Rigby helped write a thank you letter to himself.
This was after he was tasked with investigating himself, cleared himself, published the results, and then the local paper was supposed to print a thank you for him investigating himself and finding no wrongdoing. But he wrote that as well.
wow.
What a level of corruption.
Oof, it's terrifying. Oh, come on. I hate it when the white space is a click,
Yeah,
That's
they
a
do
nasty-
that on purpose. Yeah,
a nasty dark pattern. And apparently we had this with the ice cream. Remember that? People in Walmart would go in
yeah.
and so apparently Japan is now on that whole thing.
The truth behind viral videos of Japanese men licking and touching sushi in restaurants. No, my conveyor belt. No.
that's so upsetting because sushi is so delicious.
Well, there's a new profound appreciation for me for it's like, oh, there's food and I can immediately touch and start eating it without having to go through an elaborate preparation process
Yeah.
during which the very sharp pains of hunger become somewhat dulled.
Are you what about fish? Fish good? No fish?
You could probably do like a vegetarian sushi because there are some that are just like just vegetables.
Bamboo shoot.
At the local place, they had like the, on cheap days, they have like the cucumber,
Seaweed.
yeah, like
yeah.
rolls, and those are delicious.
What about the California roll with a fake crab?
Crab with a K.
I tried a piece of that, and it didn't seem to do anything bad, but I didn't want to overdo it.
You already had even before. You already had like a fish thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow, you got
I've been trying to also deliberately eat healthier and
I mean,
Ease
sushi's not
back in
terrible for
sushi's
you.
not on the
Yeah.
I mean that's perfectly healthy, I guess. Well, maybe not rice is a carb, I guess, but still. You gotta eat something.
I can't process animal protein. Leave me alone.
Well, this next one is also going to trigger you because as someone from Eastern Kentucky, I know that you have a childhood.
Oh yeah.
And we also have a particular pronunciation of this as well.
Viney.
yeah.
Yeah. How many of the Eastern Kentuckians who consume this, how many do you think are aware that is the name of a European city?
0.
Yeah. Well, it's
More than zero.
It's like Versailles. It's people don't realize, it's France, it's Versailles, but here we say we have a Versailles.
Anyway, if you've been trying to save money lately by buying some cheaper foods, check the label.
2.5 million pounds of canned meat, poultry products recalled over contamination risks. The aforementioned flea market chicken nuggets that have been replaced with flea market cans of Vienna sausage, those are probably not safe. Those are probably recalled. So you want to check those out just a little closer.
I do love these, though. I don't buy them very often because they're terrible for you. They're very salty, but man, they're good.
I wonder if people from Vienna will be called. It's like, you're from Vienna. And it's like,
No.
Or you travel there and it's like, oh, could I get some of your sausages? I love those. But I didn't know they had different flavors now. I wonder when those came out.
Yeah, I've always just had the base flavor.
Tragic.
Seeing this article makes me want them. And I'm like, I bet that they haven't rotated the stock at any of the little gas stations around me.
You can check. They give you the plant
The dates,
number.
yeah.
P4247. So as long as you're not P4247, probably okay.
You're safe.
what a dark future. It's like, oh, P4247. What if future archaeologists will be? It's like, oh yes, this P4247 marking was.
That's when they were trying to do the Northwest Passage and the Terror and the Erebus. Yeah, they were like, they looked at the cans later and they're like, oh, they all had lead poisoning. And
Yeah.
like, oh.
That makes so much more sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the future version of that, it's like they were eating sodium nitrate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
They said it was a good preservative.
Well,
That's it.
You've wasted another perfectly good hour with us. 46 minutes.
We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for hanging out. Links with friends. So share with your friends.